Yes, I do. Thank you. So I want to respond to some allegations or implications that the township has not complied with the applicable rules concerning nominations to statutory boards, as well as some questions about that process that were raised tonight. Rule 9 of Appendix 1 of the rules of, Rule 9 of Appendix 1 of the Rules of Procedures of the Council govern this nomination process. And I'm going to apologize in advance for getting so deep into the weeds here. I know this is one of the many reasons why people hate lawyers, but I think it's important given some of the concerns that were expressed tonight. Subsection A of Rule 9 states that at least 2 weeks prior to the filing of any vacancies in any statutory board, which includes the expiration of a term, the township clerk is required to notify the public of the impending vacancy and make applications available to all who seek one. As Mayor Pagan just said, in past years that notice has, for whatever reason, not gone out when it came to the statutory boards as opposed to the advisory boards. This year, Doug, our township clerk, who ran out of the room, sent out that notice both through an email blast as well as public notice on the website, which is required by this relevant rule. As that rule then goes on to say and require, the clerk is required to send out invitations to everybody who applies for the position. Doug did that. He sent out electronic invitations over email to everyone who had applied within the past 2 years for an opportunity to be interviewed by the Personnel Subcommittee. Nearly everyone who received that email, I believe it was 16 people, requested an interview, and everyone who requested an interview was given one, again in compliance with subsection C of Rule 9. There have also been some questions about the interviews being conducted by the Personnel Committee rather than in closed session by the entire council. Rule 9 does not require that interviews be conducted by the entire council. Specifically, subsection C of Rule 9 says that all, and I don't know why it says this, so I'm going to say this off the bat, but it says that all applicants, all of them unanimously, have to submit a written request that their interviews be conducted in a meeting open to the public. Rule 9 is clear that all the applicants must unanimously request that public meeting because subsection C says that one individual applicant cannot alone request a public interview when we're dealing with a statutory board like this that has a maximum number of members, which is the case when we're dealing with the land use boards. But without that unanimous written request by all of the applicants, in this case all 16 applicants, the council may conduct the interviews in closed session. They are not specifically required to do so. The council may interview the applicants together through a subcommittee. They can do so individually, however the council wants to do it, unless that specific request for an open public meeting is requested by all of the applicants, which did not obviously occur here. As I said at our last meeting, when nominations are made, everyone is free to nominate any individual they see fit, and all the council members are welcome to interview applicants on their own time, which I know has been done previously. Lastly, as to the inquiries regarding the vote being taken both last week and this week to nominate individuals, Rule 9 also expressly requires that a majority of the council nominate as many candidates as there are vacancies, with the formal vote to occur at a later meeting, which is what the council will be doing tonight as there were nominations made last week. Rule 9 refers to there not being a vote taken at the initial meeting, but what it's refers to there not being taken a vote at the initial meeting, but what it says is that no final confirmation vote can be taken at that first meeting. It doesn't say that council cannot determine whether or not a majority exists for the purpose of making nominations. Without that initial consensus taken through a recorded vote, which is what we did last week and again at the beginning of this meeting, there's a credible argument can be made that the council would be violating the Open Public Meetings Act. And so that's why we require that recorded vote for purposes of just simply determining whether or not there is a majority necessary to advance the nominations. Again, that vote last week and the one at the beginning of this meeting were not final votes on the nominees. They were just for purposes of determining whether there was a majority or not to advance the nominations. The language of this rule is complex. It is dense. It should almost certainly be written so it is none of those things. But I say all this, and I want to give you all this context and additional background to make it clear that the rules and procedures, whether we like them or not, whether we think they should be rewritten or not, they are being followed here. And I think everyone should take some level of comfort in that. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon.